the mic, yeah, we bring the flame. Thursday nights, it's a vibe, y'all gon' know the name. C. Wells, Jamie G. Jerome, DJ 2. Facts and flavor mix, that's how the crew do. Catch us live, hit that like, don't be shy. Talking SWAC, y'all, with the jokes that fly. We ain't ducking no smoke, see us holding rank. Discussion, sharp enough to make a ship sink. We got stats, we got smack all rolled in one. SWAC talk like the smoke from a loaded gun. Y'all tune in every week, it's a new vibe. Opinions clash like titans, watch the sparks collide. Here for the teams, for the sports, for the jokes you need. Cut through the noise, watch SWAC smoke's gonna lead. No fakes, no chill, bring the truth you seek. Every Thursday night, yeah, we running the streak. Catch us live, hit that like, don't be shy. Talking SWAC, y'all, with the jokes that fly. We ain't ducking no smoke, see us holding rank. Discussion, sharp enough to make a ship sink. From the court to the field, we dissect the play. Breaking down the wins and losses of the day. A different crew, but the unity's tight. Facts mixed with the laughs, got you feeling alright.
All right, everybody, what is going on? How y'all doing? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Smoke, episode number 197. And I gotta confess, I was supposed to have some different music playing today, and I forgot to put it on there. So I didn't get the intro the way my boy Jerome wanted it to be. So Jerome, why don't you tell him what I was supposed to play?
he was supposed to play The Finals by TSU in the band room. I don't know if y'all heard that, but if you get a chance, go check it out on the Ocean of Soul channel. That's what he was supposed to play, The Finals by Big X, the Pun or something like that.
Big X the Plug.
Yeah, Big X the Plug. That's it. It'd be riding, though. It'd be riding.
But as y'all can see, man, we joined by a special guest, man. You know, I've been doing this little series of bringing people in to talk about their school, their teams, themselves, because A, I don't feel like doing all the leg work, and B, it's better to get it from the source itself. And today we covering TSU that's going to the third ward of Houston. What's going on, Mr. Jamail Matthews? How you doing today?
Nothing much. Blessed. Happy to be here.
Good to see you. Nice to meet you, Jamail.
Nice to meet you too.
Yes, sir.
Same here. Welcome.
So y'all know how we do. We just gonna chop it up, and if we get anything in the chat, I'll throw it on the screen. If y'all want to really help us and bless us, man, y'all can hit that super chat, man, and bless us with $1 or $2 just to kind of keep things going. But we're gonna talk TSU football. It was let's kind of start at the end of last season, coming into this season. Honestly, what a third place finish? That had to be a bit of a surprise, huh?
Yes and no. I would say the expectations coming in from Coach Dishman and his coaching staff was pretty high. But going into the season and having injuries to your quarterback and your two best linebackers and injuries from your freshman running back, Danny Green, who had a good preview game, having injuries to those guys, getting a third place finish with all those major injuries, that really stood out, and it was a good thing.
Yeah, I thought Danny Green was gonna be a star, man. That first game, I was like, this dude gonna be a problem. Same thing with Cooper, So like you say, y'all took some major losses with Jacob Williams too. So y'all took some major losses on both sides of the ball, but some kind of way, that team stayed hungry. They were able to run the ball really well last season, and defensively, I thought they did what they needed to do, and they took a nice little step. To me, they're ahead of schedule, but I know everybody's expectations is different on the inside than the outside. But I thought that was pretty good. So, if you had to use one word to describe last season, what would that word be?
One word. I would say amazing. And the reason why I say amazing is because first and foremost, you beat Preview. Where if you follow TSU football, we haven't beat Preview in a good little minute. So it was a good little feeling starting off the season, beating Prairie View. The games that we did win and the games that we did lose, we was in close region, or we had a chance to win. So the season was amazing. You had a lot of fun moments, a lot of great moments, a lot of exciting moments that happened during the season. So I guess the one word I'd say is amazing.
Yeah,
And
I thought y'all that first Labor Day Classic, when y'all won that game, that to me that set y'all season off right there, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Anytime
I didn't
you're able to
expect that.
start
I
off
don't
like
think
that,
anybody expected y'all to come out like that.
yeah, anytime you're able to start off with victory, especially against your rival, that's gonna bolster your season. 9 out of 10 times it's gonna bolster your season because they give you momentum for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it surprised me because everybody, you had a new coach coming in, new regime coming out, and I just didn't expect it like that to come out because Prairie View at the time they was defending champions from the SWAC West, so it was a shock to me, and I would say y'all ahead of schedule, but like C. Wells say on the inside, y'all probably right where you expected to be. So, how long have you been covering Texas Southern?
So I went to Texas Southern. So I graduated from TSU in 2020 during the pandemic. But I started covering TSU sports, I'd say around like 2017, 2018. Just haven't left covering it since.
So you've been doing it. You did it. Were you on the staff? I guess the newspaper or whatever while you were a student there?
So I did KTSU radio, which is the on-campus radio station. I worked out with the athletic department with the SID, Ryan McGinty, covered soccer, then football. So going hand in hand with KTSU radio, then back to athletics. So I had my fair share experience with both.
Oh, that's all right there. So you what is your actual job now? Who are you working for now, you say?
My main thing now is Unmatched Sports. So Unmatched Sports just basically just giving coverage to TSU athletes. That was my main reason of creating Unmatched Sports. When in 2018 we had good football players, they wasn't getting a story told. Everybody has a story, just nobody tells it. So one of my main things when I created, I have a outlet where I can reach the players. Might as well tell a story. So years and years went by. I started getting a closer relationship with each player, telling a story, making highlight tapes, making graphics for them. Anything they needed, I tried to make it for them.
Oh, that's hype right there. You found your little niche to get in and created your lane. That's great.
yeah,
My daughter in journalism and communicating. She works but she don't do anything on air. But she's at FAMU radio station. She does the graphics and stuff like that for them. So yeah,
what's up?
yeah, that's what's up.
Anytime we talk TSU and media, I always gotta throw a shout out to the GOAT Chatterbox, man. I always pull up a TSU game sometimes before I listen to a Southern game just to hear my boy. But shout out to him, man. Always entertaining. But kind of swinging it back, what's the vibe around the program right now? What kind of energy is there in the program?
I would say when we talk about energy, it's just a statement. Like you said, one word for to capitalize the season is one word for like the feeling around the football program, and one word just Atlanta. Each interview that Dishman does, he mentions Atlanta. Like he wants this football team to go to Atlanta. You think he has the football players to go to Atlanta for the SWAC championship. And one thing, just watching sports as a kid with my dad and my brother and just being around sports, whatever your coach has in them and he infuses in their players, they gonna ride that through the whole season. And Dishman doesn't lack confidence and he wants to go to Atlanta. So I think the main thing is just going to SWAC championship and just winning. That's the main thing for the program right now.
Well, I heard him singing about going to Atlanta after the spring game. So if a coach gonna get on the air and sing, he believing in what he's selling. So I love the energy, man. I actually love the energy from the Texas coaches, in general. So I'm looking forward to this season. I think some y'all, TSU building something, and I think they got the guy. I seem like they got the guy that can do that. They got the guy that can make that happen. Well, I was just kind of continuing. Do you feel like the expectations are going to be higher this year? I know Atlanta is the goal, but do you feel like outside of the team, people feel that way too, or you think it's still taking a while for the general fan base to get on board?
Like inside the program, that's college sports in general: basketball, volleyball, football. You bring in a new culture, expectations rise each year. If you have 4 wins one season, we expect you to get 6 the other one. If you won 10 the next, we want you to get 11 the next. If you won a championship the year before, we want you to win a championship again, no matter what program you go to. So I feel like the expectation is rising in the program, but I feel like outside the program, people are going to have to start putting more respect on TSU football. People are relating it back to the old TSU. TSU is a trash, they sorry. But when you actually invest time in watching TSU football, we have some quality players and they can play. And I feel like they have a good winning product that can bring some championships to Third Ward.
Well, we gonna see. I was gonna ask you earlier, what are some of the changes that you've seen in the program over your time that you've been there, as far as in the culture of the program? Is it different now that Dishman was there? You saying that it seems like it's a lot of confidence there now. Was it a little different with the previous coach?
Well, first, Coach McKinney was an excellent coach, but I feel like the key difference when you go from old regime to new regime, I feel like no matter who you brought in, it was gonna have differences from Coach McKinney to whoever you brought in, but it just so happened to be Coach Dishman, so it was gonna be differences in between the two. One thing I say about Coach Dishman, he loved his players. In the field, outside the field, in the classroom, he wanted his players to succeed. And I talking about football, one of the main things that I love about Coach Dishman, he invested into nutrition. His strength and conditioning coaches, Justin Sorrell, Johannes C. Wright, making sure their bodies are right, making sure they stay healthy in the spring, fall camp, and during the season. That's one of the biggest things that he wants done good, And I feel like that's one of the biggest changes. It's been a big influence on the players of late.
That'll show up late in the season. Believe me, because I know we've all heard stories where players was losing weight towards the end of the season. They wouldn't be the same size that they were as the season started, So that's going to show up big as far as finishing games, even early in the season.
Yeah, that's one thing I always said about TSU is they always had guys. They always had good starting guys, but they didn't always have that depth. A lot of times, you see it late in games, the little mistakes here and now. A lot of it's from not having a lot of depth, but it looked like they're building that. And that's, like you say, to me, that's what wins games for you. Fourth quarters win games. And if you can keep yourself in a game going into the fourth quarter, you're probably going to come out on top majority of the time. And, I'm speaking from a team that I think we played 4 overtime games last year. So, we were constantly in those late game situations. And, it's a mindset that you develop. And it started with the coaches, and I think the coaching staff is doing a good job with TSU. We have a comment from Uncle Sam. He said, how's the quarterback competition shaping up after the spring?
So with the quarterback battle, of course, KJ Cooper, we had him last season. A lot of people got their first glance at KJ Cooper during the preview game. Yeah, he had a marvelous preview game. Everybody was talking about it. I feel like Coach Dishman and the offensive coordinator Steve Smith, I feel like they brought in some additional quarterbacks, to bolster their quarterback room. But you also have guys in that room already, like Jordan Davis. You got Cornelius Banks. You have guys that have been in the system from Coach Smith and Dishman's first year that learned the playbook already and ready to do good things. But I would say KJ Cooper is the for-sure starter going into this upcoming season.
So, but has it been announced or is it like unofficially official?
Unofficially official. It just, I would say just based off seeing him in the spring and then just off that preview game, he has the ability to do great things at TSU. He can run the ball, as you've seen in preview, has a good arm, has a good cadence for the offense. He understands the playbook. He does a good job of commanding that offense. I think he's the right guy for the job.
Yeah, I was gonna actually as far as his skill set, what it was, but you went ahead and described that, so I appreciate that. Let's talk about the spring game itself. First off, how did you what were your thoughts about the game coming out of it? And just kind of talk about some of the guys who you think maybe stood out in the game.
One of the main things that from the spring game, it just gives you it gives you insight for the fall camp in the season. So I really don't count the spring game as an actual game, but one of the biggest takeaways that I would say that I kind of touched on early with the strength and conditioning team is everybody coming out healthy. If you go back to the previous administration with Coach McKinney, it was times throughout the spring camp where players got hurt, ankle injuries, hamstring injuries, but during this fall spring camp, we didn't have any injury. Everybody walked out healthy and ready to go for the fall. That's like one of the point of emphasis for Coach Dishman. He said it in his first interview, and then in his last interview, he said that he's happy everybody came out healthy. And I would say like one of the guys that two guys that I was like really, really impressed with, Marcus Wallace, wide receiver. Every day that I went out there, he's killing defensive backs. Routes are good speed, good catching. One of the things that I really like. And another guy, same room, wide receiver room, is Trent Leary. Everybody knows Trent Leary, but one of the things that I'm taking it from a different approach, the leadership role that he's taking. He's taking full control of that, getting the guys pumped up energy wise, making sure everybody's good and then handling his own business.
Yeah, that's a guy I like a lot, man. He made some plays, but he is a guy that a lot of people don't know him, man. He's been special for TSU for a minute, but I think he's a guy who can benefit from a little bit more exposure. He is definitely a playmaker. So I'm glad to see him return. You need those kind of guys to stand out. So let's kind of, and Jerome, you can jump in, whenever you want. Let's kind of just go ahead.
I wanted to ask him about the offensive line. How they looking in the trenches. They got the depth and the size down there.
I feel like they do have the size, but it's similar to what the whole landscape of college football. If you look around, whereas Colorado with Deion Sanders, his point of emphasis has always been the offensive line. If you hear him talk in the spring, middle of spring, after spring, his emphasis is always adding depth at that offensive line, no matter who you have in the room, because injuries can arise. And I feel like Coach Dishman and Coach Steve Smith kind of take that same approach. They have guys in, but they're gonna make sure they bring other guys in, because you never know what can happen. One rolled ankle, now you're looking to see who's coming in now. But it's good to have a good depth of offensive linemen. I think they have the right pieces, but they're gonna add more with the transfer portal.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. I like you say, most teams seem to be looking for offensive linemen. They never seem to have enough. They always signing one. Did you guys have a lot of guys that jump into the portal?
Yes. Like recently, it's been a couple guys that hopped in the portal. We had MJ Henson, Sincere Massey. We had Xavier Catley hop in the portal. Some key guys, but yeah, they decided to hop in the portal.
Yeah, that's going.
I want to say this. I've been doing a series of top returning players at each position group, and all videos I've done, as soon as they come out, somebody went in the portal. The last video I did was the video I did before was defensive lineman James Ash went in the portal, Sincere Massey went in the portal. Man, can y'all please tell these dudes wait till after I make these videos before they go in the portal? Because it's like every time I do it, Dennis Palmer, Quan Lee, like, come on, man, y'all just wait a little bit and let me have my moment. But I want to continue to stay on the offense. And TSU was a team that ran the ball extremely well last season. What does the running back room look like?
One of the things, and I had told my dad this a couple of weeks ago. They always, no matter what year you go to, if you go from the 21 season, the 22 season, the 23 season, TSU has always had good running backs. You got, if you go in the past, Ladarius Owens, you got Dominique Franklin, Ja'Cory Howard. Now this season, I think you have a multitude. You got different flavors in the cabinet. Now you got strawberry ice cream, homemade vanilla, cookies and cream. You got different flavors in that cabinet now. You got you have Anthony Renfro, Danny Green, Davion Ford, Jonathan Lewis, and a host of other running backs that can produce if they get that opportunity. And it's not like if Anthony Renfro don't have it going, we don't have nobody else in the backfield. We got Davion Ford. He can go in there and catch the ball, make some plays. Anthony Renfro, he'll break off a 40-yard touchdown. Then you'll have Jonathan Lewis come in and get the 1-yard touchdown on the goal line. It's like stuff like that Coach Kimball Andres has at that position. Like you have so many players. That's one position on the TSU football team that's well taken care of.
Yeah, I call Renfro. I called Renfro like a bowling ball with legs because the dude was like, I had heard his name before, but when we played him, he had got a lot of carries in that game. He had a pretty solid game, a lot of big runs. Was tough to bring down. He's not the tallest guy, but he's a strong runner. And I'm looking forward to seeing him, seeing Ford, seeing Green back in action. I think with that going, with that room and the O-line shaping up, I think they can continue to run the ball. What would you say their philosophy is as far as offense? Are they going to continue to run it more? Are they going to try to be more balanced with the passing attack, or are they just going to maybe take what they get?
I'm sorry for all the analogies, but the run game sets the table. The rest of the offense put the food on the table, and then everybody can come and eat. And what I mean by that, the Coach Smith wants that run game to open up the offense for everything else. Because once you get two honed in on that run game with Renfro, Davion Ford, and Danny Green, that's when you'll see a play action with KJ Cooper. And then you looking too much in the backfield, and Trent Leary is 30 yards down the field and he wide open for a touchdown. And I feel like that's going to carry on into the next season too, that they want to have the run game set the table for everything else.
That's the blueprint.
Oh yeah, most definitely. If you in this league, if you can run the ball, you can pretty much do whatever you need to do. Running the ball to me is always essential. I love to pass the ball, but to me it's nothing better than lining up and running right at somebody. It's like you can really wear a team down like that, more so than throwing it around. Jumping over to the defensive side of the ball, what are the outlooks for the defensive line?
Defensive line, you have Michael Akins back. I oftentimes call him the heartbeat of the defense. He brings the energy. He's gonna make sure everybody's good. It's just a ball of excitement. I think he's gonna be the forefront of everything that goes along. And another guy that we have, DeMarcus Thompson. A lot of people was introduced to him last season. They call him Juice for a reason. He's gonna bring that juice when he gets a sack in the backfield. He's gonna get the team hype. And I feel like when you bring those two guys back and they're healthy and they determined, that they're gonna cause some havoc in the backfield.
All right.
The linebacker, I don't know his name. Excuse me for that, but they had a linebacker came out of high school, was real built. Dude was like an internet sensation. Is he still there?
No, he actually hopped in the transfer portal.
Oh, he was one of the one. Oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Yeah, I remember him.
Oh yeah, Who is Maltese Champ? Was that his
Yeah,
name?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's him.
Hey, that kid was like a 2023 Sean Oakman. Y'all remember that dude from Bama?
Yeah,
Like
he was
that dude was
cold.
like a walking tank, but he never really
Yeah,
made a lot of plays on the field. But he was a great off the bus guy. You know what I'm saying? You
He looked the
you you
part.
walk you walk him off the bus first, you know, and let everybody see what you're working with. But speaking of linebacker, what did that group look like? Because I was doing my linebacker video and I wasn't really sure if I had the right guys returning. What does that room look like?
you got my favorite room. You ain't hit a spot with that one. Yeah, you got my favorite room.
I thought
Hey, the
that was
floor is
running
yours.
back room.
No. Shout out to my brother, Coach D, man. But that's my favorite room right there. Uh, one of the things that I love about the linebacker room, and I'm not being biased with saying this because that's my brother coaching them. You have two guys returning that's key factors to this defense, as Jacob Williams and as Isaiah Bogertree. You have both of them guys on the field at the same time. You're in store for a treat. Jacob can get it done. Isaiah can get it done on any day. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they can get the job done.
Yeah,
Well,
getting Jacob
you
Williams back
got
is
you
huge.
get me ready to see these boys. I can't wait, boy, to see this game when y'all line up against Prairie View because both of y'all talking that talk. Both everybody.
And let's close out the defense with the back end. I know y'all lost MJ Henson, but how's the secondary looking?
I really think that they like going to take a page out of last year's book. Transfer portal, we're probably going to see a couple new guys in, but I'm really intrigued with Edric Wheatley, the cornerback. I know a lot of people don't know his name. Everybody towards the later part of the season, everybody was like kind of honed in into either Jaden Williams or MJ Henson, but I feel like Edric is going to have a spectacular season this year. Just watching him during the spring, I feel like he was locked in, learning a lot of new techniques from head coach Billy Parker, defensive coordinator Billy Parker, excuse me. I feel like he's going to have a breakout season. And I feel like when Dishman gets finished adding the necessary pieces, I feel like we're going to have a strong secondary.
Does Dishman spend a lot of time with the DBs?
Oh yeah, does he?
He does.
He gonna make sure
that's his baby, basically.
he gonna make sure he goes over there. He has to. I completely understand.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, most head coaches at defensive backs gonna spend time with that room a lot. You can go to Nick Saban. You know what I'm saying? He spent a lot of time with DBs because that was his specialty. Back in the day, P. Richardson always, those guys, they definitely gonna make sure they secondaries up to par because that's what they know and that's what that's their approach. But I'm looking forward to seeing the defense in action, man. Like I said, getting Jacob Williams back is huge. I think that kid would have been, first team, all conference, possible player of the year, if he was able to make it through the season, because he was that before. So I think that's a great piece for your defense. Another name I would love to see get more attention from TSU. Let's close out the team portion by talking special teams. I know a lot of people don't really like special teams, but I always follow it closely. What do the special team unit look like? Did they do any special teams work in the spring game, or did they kind of just say that for during the actual practices?
Oh no, that's one thing. That's one thing about Coach Dishman. He's going to address every situational thing that happens in the game. Nobody took no off days. Special teams did do things in the spring. Situational kicking, 30 yards, 40 yards, and even 50 yards. So that's one of the things that he really wants to do and capitalize on this upcoming season. Because to be truthful with you, it's going to be times where you can't score. Now, I would love for TSU to score every time they get in the red zone. I truthfully would, but there's going to be times where you need to kick from the right hash or the left hash, or it'd be a weird angle. So practicing that is going to attest to a lot of things in the upcoming season. I feel like with the kickers, the punters that we have, I feel like everybody's in the right zone to make sure everything is good. I feel like Billy Owens, the special teams coach, and Coach Dishman has made sure everything is in order. And the fall camp is going to serve a purpose too, right before we get to the season, to make sure all those details are fine-tuned.
Yeah, I mean, special teams can obviously make or break a game in a season, and I'm a big believer in having a solid punting unit. Now, I prefer, like you said, I prefer my team to score every time they got the ball, but you're gonna have those games where the offense ain't really clicking. Maybe you're not, maybe you lose the field position battle, but to have a guy that can flip that field for you, I think is very valuable. And on the other end of it, flipping the field return game, how's that looking?
Of course, we're gonna have Trent Leary back there. You're gonna have Charlo back there. Some explosive guys. I can't give too much, but you're gonna have some explosive guys back there that can return the ball. And in my opinion, I think it's gonna be like, if you remember the game, the second half of FAMU, I think it's gonna be a lot of that. Good returns. You had a monster kick return in that FAMU game. I think it's gonna be a lot of that this season, because you do have some explosive guys, even behind Trent Leary and Curry and Charlo, that can return that ball if need be.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Hey, I would hope you did. You was I like how you said that. But I want to get your thoughts on one game from last year, and then we're gonna. First, how you looking on time? You good on time?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
All right. I want to talk about one game because personally, it personally interests me. What was your thoughts on that Southern game last year? It was from my perspective, it was ridiculous. But what was your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, it was like a roller coaster. We had our ups, and then we had our downs, and then it kind of fizzled out at the end. But those are the experiences that you need, especially in your first year as a head coach. It teach you a lot of different things, a lot of situational things. And that brings me back to the spring. Coach Dishman is leaving nothing hidden. He's going over situational football. Like, if we get in this position, you should know what to do. You shouldn't be in the game and be like, oh, what do I do? You know what to do, because we did it in the fall camp, we did it in spring camp. Now it's time to execute. But talking about the Southern game, that on both ends, I'm not being biased towards TSU, but that was an amazing game. How it ended, how it started, the middle, it was amazing. I really love that game though.
Hey, what a difference! This is where different perspectives come in at. I love this difference, because to me that was one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life. Although I did like the end, but that was one of the worst. Like, for me personally, I thought we played a great defensive game as a whole. I thought our defense played outstanding. Our offense, they got better in the second half of that game. First half, we could not move the ball for anything. We had a couple big turnovers. And I really thought by halftime we were down 14-0. I was like, well, shit, we in pretty good shape, because we should be down by more. But defense kept us in the game, and then we kind of started getting it together, moving the ball. We scored 12 points in the third quarter, and then we gave up a safety in the last couple minutes of the game. And I tell y'all, I was at home watching the game on TV. I left the living room, and I went down the hall, and I took my shirt off and threw it down the hall, and I was screaming, and my dogs were barking, and that was like the only time I ever act like that at a football game, and my wife didn't say anything, because she was feeling the same way.
Same thing.
And so I had already, and we were going live that night, so I had already prepared myself to come on the air and deal with whatever people are gonna say to me, deal with Los J showing up and talking noise. So for it to change at the end, it was like, I was happy, but I was still upset, because A, it shouldn't have been like that, and B, that was a situation hardly ever gonna happen. But it was an entertaining game. I'm not gonna take anything away from the game as a whole. I will say this: I watch every win that Southern has every year. I haven't watched that game since that day. I either watch it Sunday after the game or throughout the the spring and the winter. I haven't watched that game at all. I might go back and rewatch it, but I haven't watched that game at all. But Southern had some interesting games the last 3 or 4 years, honestly. So, it's shaping up to be a matchup that you better you better pay attention because something's going to happen. You never know what it is, but something's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a rivalry for sure. Now, especially, I don't want to take it to the band thing, but with Brian Simmons there and the Ocean and the jukebox, that's even more of a rivalry. Yeah, I know you've seen some of the antics that he's done, Simmons, when he played against Southern, when they performed against each other. So that's really turned into a big. That's another rivalry for y'all, for real. For Southern.
We TSU over the last course of years that we didn't had secondary rivals. Like Southern could be one, Grambling could be one. I wouldn't necessarily count Alcorn in there because we kind of had Alcorn number, but it's always a good game against Alcorn. But Grambling and Southern has always been 2 games where you got the mark on your calendar for it's going to be a good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask too about does Texas Southern have a stadium on campus?
See, we do have a stadium on campus, but it's not,
it's small.
It's small, but it's not fit for games every week. So that's why we only have our homecoming game at Alexander Durley Stadium, and then the rest of the games are at Dynamo Stadium, which is Shell Energy Stadium. Yeah, Shell Energy Stadium.
So you do have some games on campus. How's the atmosphere at those games? Is it a good atmosphere? You get a lot of the kids, to show up at those games.
See, I one thing I love about it, and just going to FAMU. FAMU is one of the best examples, and I'm pretty sure Jackson State and Southern is the same way. But that was my first time going to FAMU, and the atmosphere was there. Way before the game started, the atmosphere was there. You could feel the atmosphere before the game even started. Plus, it was y'all homecoming. And one thing that I like about homecoming on the yard is they say at Alexander Durley Stadium, it brings everybody from the past, the future, and the present together. Plus, you have sorority, fraternity life. They have cookout on the opposite side near the football stadium. So you have people coming in and out. So the atmosphere is there. Then you combine that with a team that's winning at the time, you asking for a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just curious about that. I was in Houston last summer for our family reunion, and we kind of rode by the interstate, and I looked over there like that Texas Southern down there. We didn't get a chance to go down into there, that's why I was just curious.
So what is your feeling on playing at Shell Energy? Do you like it? Do you think? I mean, I know it's necessary evil because TSU been played in so many different places over the years. He used to play the Astrodome, Rice Stadium, and Robertson Stadium. So I know I know they always been playing all over the place. But how do you feel in terms of do you think that's a home field advantage? Do you think it could be better? What are your thoughts on playing now?
Yeah, one of the things that I always say, you really can't complain about playing in Shell Energy Stadium. You have the opportunity to play there, but there's no better feeling than having a stadium on campus where students that stay on campus can come, the community can come, rather than traveling downtown. And I feel if you had a stadium on campus, you have so many more people come to the games because it's in the middle of Third Ward. Everybody can come. Even the people that's outside of Third Ward can come and go to TSU. But
easier access.
Yeah, it's a lot easier access, especially for the students. And one of the things about it, I had a story I wrote years ago. Winning cures all. Winning can cure the stadium prowess. And if Dishman continues winning, there's no doubt in my mind that you had a stadium on campus. That ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah, I always say winning's a great deodorant. You know what I'm saying? It masks any kind of problems you got. People don't care what's going on with your program if you're winning, but the minute you drop a game, people find out all the warts. It's like being in the club at night You know what I'm saying? And then the lights come on. You know, that person you were talking to ain't necessarily look like they looked under the lights. You know, that's what winning is. You know, it just, you know, this is the analogy show today. You know what I'm saying? We gonna throw out all kind of analogies, but you know, it changes the perspective of everything. You know, I know when, you know, when my team is losing, people find everything that's a problem. Nah, oh, the volleyball team ain't winning. Like, y'all didn't even care about volleyball before we lost that football game on Saturday. So like, it just builds, and you know, I feel like, and y'all can chime in on this as just a general thing, or you know, for y'all, both of y'all schools. I feel like when you lose, that affects those people that typically don't always come to a game. Maybe that's their first game coming to, or you know, they come sporadically, but losses always seem to turn those people off. Do y'all think that's like a situation, you know, at TSU? Do you think sometimes the results kind of maybe deter people from getting in their car and driving downtown?
Oh yeah, that's in life. Everybody likes a winner. Nobody likes a loser. You know, the proof is in the pudding. You know, when TSU after beating Prairie View, people was trying to come out and watch a TSU product. Plus, you had Coach Dishman. He's advertising, making sure people come out. So you had winning plus advertisement. Now you got the thing of, oh, I gotta go see this KJ Cooper, or I gotta go see this Jacob Williams, or I gotta go see this Danny Green. Winning is all a part of it. But you know, when you lose, that's when your diehards come in. A lot of people, fresh fans that, you know, don't know nothing about TSU, they losing, they'd rather go watch across the street at U of H, watch U of H football team. They winning, I'm gonna go over there. I'm not gonna sit here and watch 40 minutes of a football game. Y'all losing, I can go across the street at TDECU and watch their football team, and they winning. So I think that was like one of the main things, you know, that kind of sprinkled into this season last year. You know, winning was there. So people were saying, oh, I got to check out Coach Dishman, or I got to check out KJ Cooper, or I got to check out Trent Leary. I want to see what they're talking about. I want to see what this football program is building for the near future.
So you saying momentum is building for this season. You can feel the momentum around the town, on campus. I'm trying to say, as far as people looking forward to this season coming up, and that momentum building up where you might see more attendance. You think?
Yeah, I use this analogy. I was watching a podcast about TSU sports, and somebody had used this analogy. You ever been in your house and you just relaxing in your room as a child, and you don't know your mom cooking the pot, but that pie's in the oven, and you start smelling. You're like, man, what's that smell? Then you go downstairs, you see your mom got an apple pie or whatever pie that you like. That's how TSU is. You see and you starting to smell it. Oh man, TSU look like they finna do something this next season. Optimism is starting to rise a little bit. Oh, KJ Cooper got hurt, so that's probably why they didn't do what they supposed to. KJ Cooper coming back healthy this year. I seen what he did against Prairie View. Let me go to Labor Day Classic on August 31st at 7 p.m. I want to see if he's the real deal. Now people starting to really, really want to go to TSU now.
That I was gonna also ask you, what are y'all doing to keep some of that Texas talent that y'all have down there? It's loaded with football players. So what, you think you're gonna be able to keep some of them out of high school and, circle the wagons, get your share of recruits, especially with Prairie View being as aggressive as they are being?
See, I answered in two parts. So I feel like every program goes through that. You go to Alabama, USC, UCLA, everybody deals with players transferring in and out. I think TSU main thing, not to keep saying the same thing, is winning. So my dad says this all the time. You winning causes money to come in the program. Money in the program causes NIL deals. NIL deals make players want to come and stay at your program. So this is first season. Are they winning? You have likable players all across the field. Oh, let me go see about TSU. Now I have Steezy footwear. I want players to wear my brand. Or you have this brand come in and be like, oh, I want to invest into this player right here. I want him to wear my shoes or my pants or my clothing brand. So I feel like the more winning that happens, people want to get invested or invest their product or invest money into the program, that's when you have more people stay. Because winning can do all things. You know, once you win, especially at TSU, you in Houston. We seen it. I don't know if you cover the University of Houston. University of Houston in this state is the main example of what winning can do. If you go back to 2010, 2009, man, everybody was like, nobody want to go to U of H. But Case Keenum, you had my brother Derek Matthews, you had Patrick Edwards. They had that 13-1 season. Now everybody like, oh, I want to go over there with Kevin Sumlin now, or going previous years, Tom Herman started winning. I'm Ed Oliver. I want to go to U of H now. I know Alabama calling, but I want to go to U of H. Stay at home. Now you have people getting reinvested into the program. And I feel like that's the same with TSU, because TSU has the alumni for it, but people want to see a winning product, and then they start investing their money.
Yeah,
all right, first. Oh, go ahead, Jerome.
No, you good. Go ahead.
All right. I was gonna say, first off, speaking of brands, y'all shout out to Trophy Chasers. Official licensed TSU merchandise. So y'all check my boy Los J out. And secondly, we had a comment from the chat. Jamail, would you mind kind of reintroducing yourself for anybody who came on a little bit later?
Oh yeah, I'm Jamail Matthews, owner of Unmatched Sports. So if you see Unmatched on Instagram, or if you see Jamail Matthews on Twitter, yeah, I'm the one that's covering like TSU sports, highlight tape stories, graphics, anything you think of, pictures. I try my best to cover TSU sports, telling the players' stories, getting them out there, and just making sure I cover them the way they should.
And he do a great job, man. Like I said, I keep tabs on your stuff all the time, and like I said, you got some really good graphics. They help me. They help me with my video series, man. So I appreciate it. I like that. I like that. And you know, we had you here before, and I definitely was like, man, I need to reach out again and get you here. Got to make sure we do this a little bit more frequently. But I want to take these last few minutes before we get up out of here. We got little time, but I want to take these last few segments, or whatever you want to call it. Take a look at the schedule for 2025, and I just kind of want to get your thoughts on, you know, the opponents when we run through them. You know, it's way too early for predictions and stuff like that, so I'm not really asking that, but just, you know, general thoughts on, you know, on games and, you know, just anything like that. But first off, we obviously know the biggest game is the first game for everybody, but for TSU and PV is extra big. So I wanted to ask you first off, because, you know, that's something new. Well, not new, but that's something different for me. How is it to have your rivalry game in the first game as opposed to like the last game?
I feel like it's perfect. I know a lot of people argue it should be in the middle of the season or at the end of the season, but I feel like it's perfect for both teams. If you go back and look at Preview and you look at TSU last season, Preview used it to their advantage and used momentum to ride the rest of the season. And you look at TSU last season, despite the injuries, they used that game to fuel their momentum to get a couple wins on the road, at home, and put up a fight against some formidable opponents. And I feel that, you know, that's the best time to have that game. And the reason I say that, you're in the SWAC West. If you've been watching the SWAC West standings the last 5-6 years, you will have 3 or 4 teams that's tied, and then you had a game at the end. That's gonna be a heartbreaker. I'd rather have 7 more games and I lose, rather than I lose this last game. I had a chance to go to the SWAC West Championship and I lose a heartbreaker. I wouldn't be able to sleep if I lose that last game. That's my rival, and I can't go to the SWAC West. Oh yeah, I can't live with that.
Yeah, and you got to carry that through, you know, through the winter and the spring and the summer. Yeah. And God forbid if that team wins the conference or the division. I've been there. You know, you got to hear it, man. Like, I remember one year we lost to Grambling, and that was a guy, man. I live in Baton Rouge. That was a guy that was driving around Baton Rouge every day. I saw him every day with this huge Grambling flag on the back of his truck, like waving in the wind. He made it a point to drive all over Baton Rouge. I don't know where he stayed at that town, but he had that flag every day. Like, it was the biggest flag I ever seen in my life off the back of his pickup truck. And, you know, you got to see this and relive that game every time you try to go to the grocery store or something. So I get it. It's just something different for me because I haven't been through it. I look at it kind of like the other side do. But I guess it's all in how you approach it. Talk about that. Talk about that game this year. It got a little extra oomph to it with Coach Jackson coming in. He brings some energy at PV. Coach Dishman is not shy about how he feel about things. How do you think that matchup is gonna? Do you look forward to this game kind of growing even more with the tension that's coming between both schools?
Yeah, I feel like you have a lot not riding on the season, but there's a lot to this game. You got a former TSU coach that's a secondary coach at Preview, Coach DG. You have the all-time leader. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but you have the all-time leading receiver in receptions, and Daryl Cobra Sr. as their chief of staff. You have TSU people at Preview, so if that don't fire up players enough, this game means a lot, But one thing that I like that Dishman said, and that's why I say I like that is at the beginning of the season. This doesn't make or break our season. Having that first game, we got 7 more to go. Are we gonna let this one game decide the rest of the season, or if we win, we're gonna be on the high and lose all 7 the rest of the games, or if we lose, we're just gonna be pouting and lose the rest of the games. I'd rather lose or win. I'm gonna use that as motivation to do what I have to do, take care of my business, and be in the SWAC West Championship, because you never know what the other team will do. Just because they beat TSU or Preview wins, TSU wins, that doesn't mean, I won this one game, I'm headed to the SWAC Championship. No, it's still more season to play. You have to prove it the rest of the season that you're the best. Then you'll have the almighty bragging rights that I won the SWAC West, you didn't, and I beat you at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and it's tough for PV because they schedule in the SWAC is so front loaded. They play so many divisional games early in the year. That game against TSU really kind of set them on a downward slope quickly. Most teams don't have that many division games early in the season like they do. So that was one of the things where it kind of hurt you. And this guy is not he's not the most liked guy in this show or on this area. But Coach Dooley always used to say, don't let a game beat you twice. You know what I'm saying? Don't lose a game twice. So don't lose this week and have that game help you lose next week. Kind of put it behind you, and just focus on what's in front of you. But I always look forward to that game. I really that's one of them games. Like I said before, I got it on my travel list. That game, Magic City Classic, and I want to catch some of these games. Take a minute and sell the people who haven't been to Labor Day Classic. Tell them on that game.
In my opinion, I feel like that's the best game. You have 2 opposing sides that hate each other. One saying I hate TSU, one side saying I hate Preview. I feel like that's the most intense week. There's no I love Preview on TSU side. There's no I love TSU on Preview side. So I feel like everything culminates at the band. The TSU band hates Preview band. Head coach versus head coach. They throwing slugs at each other in the press conference the 2 days before the game. You have players, they sending subs on Instagram, Twitter. It's just so much that's a part of that game that make that one game so special. That it's just so much, and especially coming into this game, you have the narrative saying, can Dishman beat him again? Or can head coach Tremaine Jackson, is he's a new face that can lead and beat TSU and win the SWAC West? Narratives control sports. And I feel like this narrative that we have this season, you have one coach that's 1-0 and you have a coach that's 0-0. Can that coach, can he come in and beat us? Or is Dishman going to take care of business and bring that trophy back to Houston? Well, it's going to stay in Houston. Let me say it that way.
I like it, man. I think coaches drive matchups sometimes. So, when you got, 2 guys that are not shy about saying how they feel, and selling a game, I think that helps too. So, and a rivalry always speaks for itself. But I love a good rivalry game, man. You can't beat them, man. So I think I'm gonna be definitely tuned in. If I don't be in Bino that weekend, I gotta try to beg my travel agent to let us go to Houston, because that would be one that I gotta catch anyway. But we're gonna kind of run through the schedule, like I say, real quickly, and stop on some games that are of interest. But after PV, you got the FBS game at Cal. Cal lost the whole running back room, but that is what it is. First off, how do you feel about those kind of games?
Like a lot of people say they trap games, but I feel like it's just like boxing. You can't walk in belittling your opponent or thinking your opponent is trash. I feel like TSU, no matter what game they go in, they can beat anybody. If they be on their P's and Q's, I feel like they can beat anybody. If you go back to previous seasons, Rice University, Rice and UTSA in the 2022 campaign with Coach McKinney, a lot of people walked into that game, oh, TSU ain't beating Rice. Oh, they ain't beating UTSA. But if you go back and look at those particular games of TSU, Rice game, TSU came all the way back, and I think the final score was 34-48. Rice had to put some drives together to beat TSU. If not, TSU is going to win. If you go back to that UTSA game, if you go back and look at the head coach's face on the sideline, they're like, oh, man, we ain't prepared for this. We didn't know TSU was going to do this. Thought TSU was going to come in here and lay down. We beat them by 40 by the third quarter. Now we sit our starters. Nah, TSU came in to play. And I feel like with Cal, I feel like, especially Lamar, because we got to get our get back with Lamar. I don't like how that game ended.
Y'all owe them big time. Y'all owe them big time. They stole that game from y'all.
I don't even much play football, but I don't like how they disrespected us and ran on our sideline acting like we, not finna do something. But we're going to get our get back this year.
Wait, they did what?
Yeah, they ran on our sideline, boasting about a victory over TSU. But don't worry, we're gonna get some straightening this year. Don't worry about that. That's the past. But we're gonna make sure the new is TSU though.
They had that kind of energy after a game that they were able to benefit from a bunch of bad calls on like the last drive. They got some nerve.
Don't worry about it. We don't like talking about the past too much, but the new gonna be TSU though.
I like that. So coming off Lamar, you get an off week pretty early in the season, but then you go to the Valley, and Valley is different. This year, they got turf field now, so they ain't got that bad field, so it's kind of even odds. And then you follow it up with Pine Bluff. So those are two games that you should be favored in. I'm not trying to put cart before horse, but both those teams are like in rebuild. And if you want to say anything about them two games, you can, but I was just going to jump to that Grambling game. Y'all beat Grambling last year, didn't it?
Yeah, we beat Grambling.
So they're another team that's kind of, I don't know where they stand. So that's a nice little kind of 3-game stretch in conference before you get to homecoming. You should, how do you feel about those games, like those games, Pine Bluff, Valley, Grambling, Virginia Lynchburg? How do you feel about that little 4-game stretch coming off a bye week and then going into a bye week?
I feel like the bye week surge is ultimate purposes, make sure we get recharged and ready to go. But I feel like, just like I told you, you can't. I view everything like a boxing match. You can't sleep on your opponent. If you sleep on your opponent, you will get knocked out. In the terms of football, if you sleep on the opponent, they will beat you by 30. So that's one thing. Mississippi Valley, Alcorn State, Southern, Grambling, it could be Little Johnny's Little League team. You cannot sleep on any opponent at any given time. I feel like that's another thing that Dishman preaches. Every game you should walk in with the mentality, it's a new game and we should beat the team that's in front of us. You shouldn't take anybody lightly.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between a winning team and a team that's trying to win. You come into every game understanding that, hey, this team might be 2-9. They might not move the ball. Their defense might not be able to stop nobody. But this Saturday, they're gonna come to play, and they can ruin. Them kind of games can ruin your season. So I definitely get kind of focusing on every game as it come up. Not looking too far ahead, not looking back, and respecting whoever you play, because some of the tougher games I've seen have been against teams that I felt like coming into the game that we should have just had our way with. You end up in a 5 overtime game with Bethune-Cookman. A lot of people looking at you funny because it's Bethune-Cookman, but they got talent on their team. That they got guys that can play, and if you don't execute and you allow them to hang around, like I have one thing I said at football games and basketball games that my wife, she hates it, but I say it every game, and I'm like, you need to step on these dudes while you got the chance. You can't let teams hang around. You let teams hang around, you get caught up at the end. But I do one thing I want to say before we continue to move through the schedule is the schedule broke up in the nice little blocks. You got 3-game block to open up the season. You got bye week. You got 4 games, a bye week, and then you close out with 4 games. And you got Alcorn at home, Bama State on the road, Southern on the road, and Alabama and them on the road. So, how do you feel about that closing stretch?
One game in particular, Bama State. The reason that I'm circling that game because we see a familiar face. That's Andrew Body. That's one game that I'm really anticipating that's going to be a good game from Andrew Body, and I'm expecting a victory from my TSU Tigers. I know Andrew gonna have his 4 touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns, but TSU still gonna walk away with the victory.
That adds a spice right there, that Andrew Body component.
And it could be, and it could be a game that have a lot of meaning on it, that late in the year. But one thing I like about this schedule, and really most schedules I looked at this year, there aren't a lot of really long trips. You gotta go to Alabama, which a decent long trip, in California, obviously. But other than that, you got Houston, Grambling, Houston, Baton Rouge, Houston. Those are a lot of games that are in decent range. Do you feel like you have a better? You think the fan base will travel more as the team kind of start to find themselves?
And I would say yes, because like best game that I can bring up to you, of course that's Lamar's home field, so they had students come on campus and people that really love Lamar football. But one thing that I noticed at Lamar, we had TSU fans in the stand. That was the first away game that I seen that we had that many fans in the stand, and that goes back to the previous point that I said, winning. If you win, I know a couple people that'll drive a long way to see a TSU football team win. Now, right. If when you put that winning recipe together, everybody will go. Families of football players, people that really want to see alumni. That's when you have everybody coming to watch a game. I feel like the same with TSU.
Yeah, it's like a building block. You can get it at home, build it, but winning on the road to me is the difference between winning a division title and staying at home. You got to win, and a lot of times having that, even if it's 10 people. Sometimes I've seen a group of 10 people, the loudest people in the stadium. Sometimes just having your people there, having your back, it can kind of boost those guys, because a lot of people don't realize the energy that players take from fans. And so when you know that you go on the road and know people are going to be behind you, that can be a little extra juice. Sometimes it's not going to score a touchdown for you, but it can help you dig deep sometimes when you gotta find that little extra boost. But like I said, I think all in all, I think this is a good schedule for TSU. I think, it is not, it's not you don't have a lot of road trips. You only got like 2 trips back to back on the road, which is something I always like to look at. And for the most part, you got Valley and the 2 Alabama schools as your cross division rivals. So I think that helps as well. So I like that look at the schedule. Jerome, what you think about this schedule so far as we've gone through it?
Early on, I see opportunity for a lot of wins, especially in that first half of the schedule, from what you were saying. maybe the Cal might be a loss, but if they can come out of the Prairie View game with a win, I think they'll be off to what 5-1, possibly 4-1.
I love that. Yeah, you speaking my language now. I like that.
Yeah, because I mean, it's possible from what I saw with that schedule with the bye week. Because what it was, Prairie View, Lamar, right, and then the
Prairie View, Cal, Lamar, and then bye week.
Valley. Yeah. So it's possible, and then if they come out of that with a 4-1, that situation, that's a lot of momentum, and the wins and all that, it can propel them until they get to that. They're gonna need that in the back half, I think, because I think the back half is a strong part of the schedule with the Alabama schools and Southern. That's when your depth is gonna show up, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jerome said the magic words right there. Had him a little happy right there.
What's that? What is?
Oh, when you were speaking on them being 4-1 or 5-1, it shapes up well, man. Like I say, I think when you got a schedule that's like that, if you can take advantage of those opportunities, I think you got you find yourself in a position that you can make some things happen. So coming out of that last bye week into those final 4 games is gonna be you're gonna really find out where that team is, and if you give yourself a chance, I like a backloaded schedule. I know a lot of people like to get those tough games out of the way early, but I like a backloaded schedule because for me, I know what's in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Like a couple years ago, we had 4 division games to close out the season. I know we got to win all 4 of these games, and I don't have to worry about help because if we beat these teams, then I don't have to worry about tiebreakers and stuff. Because I hate having a scoreboard watch. So if I can play games early and take care of business or stumble once, and I know I got a bunch of division games to close out the season, I love that because I love to know what's in front of me. I love to have the season in my hands, and just if we don't get it, it's because we just didn't get it. And the SWAC West has had some 3-way ties, some 4-way ties. So you got to be able to win. You got to be able to beat those teams. But all in all, I think it's a good schedule. And one thing I do like is no 2 FBS games. I don't care who it is. I hate teams playing 2 FBS games. I know TSU do it sometimes, and I hate them back to back. But having one is a necessary evil. But 2 is just for me. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's rough, especially back to back. That's brutal.
All right, so we coming up toward the close of the show. Gonna get out of here in a minute and watch this draft. You got any, Jamail? You got any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Oh yeah, I think everything will come into notion for everybody. I think TSU is gonna have an amazing season. I think the main thing with TSU, and I can document it and say it again in the future, but I think the main thing with TSU is healthy. If they can remain healthy, I feel like this team can flourish good. I think we have the right coaches. I feel like we have the right players in the right moment. But the key thing with TSU is healthy. If they can stay healthy, I feel like everything will fall into place for them.
You got to drop in during the season, at some point. You got to just come back and show your face.
Oh, yeah, we 4-1. I definitely will come back. I come back.
You got to come back regardless. Now, don't come back because y'all 4-1. Come back if y'all 2-2.
I know you'll be back if you get that 4-1, 5-1. I'm sure you'll be everywhere.
If they 4-1, he'd probably be hosting this show. So we know,
yeah.
We know he'd be back for that. I do want to say one thing before we get out of here because Wednesday we got my boy Lionel from PV versus Everybody coming through to talk Panthers. He said Prairie View going undefeated this season. Y'all know last year he made those SWAC championship shirts. This year he said they're going undefeated, so we're gonna definitely talk about that. It's too early for me to say what anybody's team gonna do, but I do thank you, Jamail, for coming through. And like I say, man, you got an open invite, man. If you want, you got something you want to come through and holler, man. We got the door is always open. We're definitely gonna bring you back again this year to kind of chop it up at some point in the season. Hopefully, all three of our teams be 4-1 maybe the next time we talk. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens. But you know,
Yeah.
I'm glad you're able to come through, man, and talk some TSU football and give everybody a good outlook, because you know TSU one of those teams that, like we had a comment in the chat. TSU always one of those teams that's kind of quiet. Nobody ever really know what's going on over there
Yeah.
unless you know somebody. Unless you know somebody that follow TSU, you don't never really know what's going on. So you know, I got my little plug, so I kind of keep tabs on what's going on out there. But a lot of people don't know, and then it spring up on them. So you know, I'm glad that you're able to come through and do this. And I've been trying to reach out to somebody from Valley, man, but they don't act like they don't want to answer nobody. So if y'all know somebody from Valley, man, that want to come on the show, please tell them to come through. I didn't try the SID. I didn't try the SID. I didn't try their fan Twitter pages. I didn't try. They act like they don't want to answer me. So somebody, please, man. I don't want to have to go ask my dad to go look at Valley games because he went to Valley, but he don't really follow them like that. So I don't want to ask him to be the representative because y'all gonna get a bad show. But somebody, man, please. But anyway, I'm working on a special guest for tomorrow. If it come through, y'all keep it locked on my socials. I'll announce it. It's TSU coded, so it could be a back-to-back TSU show if I can get it to work. And we'll see. But y'all make sure y'all keep it locked here. Jerome, you got anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. I enjoyed you coming in. I appreciate you coming by and sharing TSU news. And like I say, don't be a stranger. Come back more often. Help us put TSU out there. We joking kid with each other about each other's school, but we all cool, So I appreciate you coming in.
Oh yeah, always.
And one last time before we get out of here, man, tell the people where they can find you.
On Instagram, it's unmatched_sports, and then on Twitter it'd be Jamail Matthews.
All right, so everybody, y'all keep it, y'all give him a follow, man, and keep tabs on him. He do a lot of good stuff. He really active, and he definitely promote TSU well. So y'all keep up with him and give him a follow and check out everything that he's doing. And y'all make sure y'all like the stream on the way out if y'all haven't liked it already. Like the stream on the way out, and we'll be back next week with another edition of SWAC Smoke. And like I said, I got a couple of big shows coming throughout the week and the weekend. So y'all keep it locked here, and we'll catch y'all on the next show. We out of here.